So last night, Alyssa and I worked on getting this water main connected. Building code only allows one connection on the inside to the main room. So we put our connection here. We probably could have just run a continuous pipe. And I know a lot of people are probably gonna scream at me for it, but it is what it is. It's good quality brass. I put a lot of heat on this last night and it looks like it's laying down nice and flat. So that's what I wanted to check for this morning to see if I needed to add any extra heat. Looks like we did a good job. Back here in the mechanical room, I need to do a little bit of measuring, but we did the same thing here. There's a rock on it after we put some heat on it. Looks like it's behaving, so I think the way our mechanical room is designed, we'll have a pressure tank. We might end up installing a pump later on in the house, even though our system is gravity fed. If you haven't already watched that, we built our own gravity fed water system. We'll link to that stuff in the video. It's currently at about 32 PSI, which should be plenty for the house, but down the road we might want to add a pressure tank and a pump and all that stuff. So anyway, we need to get this heated up and bent up. So I need to double check where that mechanical room is. It looks like our engineer has this spec'd out at 1 foot 8 inches, and that's at 8 feet 1 inch. That's all pretty tidy. We might do a little bit of digging here just to put that water line a little bit below ground to help taper it into that location. I feel like with this particular construction job, I feel like a lot more of this stuff, I mean the water line specifically, should be much deeper in the ground. First of all, the poly does not bend in 90-degree angles, and since we already used the one fitting that we're allowed, we can't put an elbow right there, so we have to bend the pipe. Which works out good because I don't think you really want connections below the concrete anyway. It's just not a good idea. Would have been really good if we'd have just left a big roll of pipe laying there and we could have run one continuous pipe into the house. Things you learn the hard way. So we'll leave that be for now. Gonna let it cool off. Hopefully it'll retain its shape. I need to figure out what the heck else we need to do. I know. Gluing and testing. So before I move on to gluing, I wanted to spend a little time double checking all of our fittings. We figured out kind of a method that seems to remove some of the guesswork out of making complex pieces like this, and we've been mapping them. So here I've made 3 lines, so when this all gets taken apart, it's not confusing about how to get it back together. So while working on this, gluing all of our bathroom stuff over here, I'm looking over here at this piece of pipe because I'm kind of looking down it, and I can see it right here. This piece of pipe bowed this morning. So down here at this Y, the slope is over 1/4 of an inch. Right here by the sand, it's level, and right here at this 22, it's sloping that way. In one flipping morning. So Alyssa's gonna put a rock on it to try to force that down, which will bring that up, and hopefully will reset the bend in the pipe.
Big rock.
Barely even making a movement in that pipe. So far, we've run into this with every single phase of construction. The longer your materials are exposed to the elements, the more they change. The pipe has bent, our footing forms were bending. The ICFs didn't really bend too much, but our bracing did. So far, you basically need to do construction at night and only get things buried as quickly as you can. Otherwise, your entire project can be in jeopardy. Well, that seems rational. to have to put a pile of rocks weighing nearly 200 pounds.
It's sloping up now, more than a quarter inch.
What about over here? Is there any slope there, or is it still sloping the wrong way?
Sloping the wrong way.
Yeah, fan-freaking-tastic. My fun meter is like exploding. It's beyond pegged.
We don't want to raise that up.
We might have to, but let's not do that right now. Don't change anything. Everything was fine this morning, and now it's all jacked up because of the sun. So I just got off the phone with the inspector, and sounds like this is never gonna work. Well, not never. This is not permitted. So basically, we needed to bring these floor drains up 1 inch. So we used a couple of 22 elbows to adjust this drain. But this, from the P-trap to where this vent is referred to as a trap arm. I'm not exactly sure why, but it's important that this slope be correct. After the trap arm and you meet the drain, you're allowed more freedom on how that's connected to the drainage system. But between the P-trap and the vent, I believe has to be one straight piece of pipe, and it has to slope correctly. Although this entire section is glued, so this trap is now junk. Misfortune, this whole trap and all these fittings are garbage. The good news is I can add that 1 inch adjustment on this leg and bring this entire drain up. Everything I've already built and glued can stay. Nothing fundamentally changes, except for this whole drain will be 1 inch higher. I'm gonna complete that modification to this system, and then I probably will just steal the garage floor drain and put it on here to get this corrected, and then we'll have to go get another floor drain. So a bit of a change of pace. I think the good news is we finally talked to the inspector. He knows that we're on the schedule for tomorrow. So hopefully that means that we'll be through this phase and get this pressure tested, pass all of our inspection, and we can move on. I did ask him about what do you do if your pipe starts warping in the sun? And he said it's okay to actually bed those sections of pipe and cover them over to keep the sun from getting to them and warming them up. I guess I kind of forgot to update things. So I've actually been very patiently working on gluing these legs. And what I've been doing is I just start at the first connection and check for slope so that this leg is sloping correctly. And then I add the next connection and check this leg for slope while checking this leg for slope. And then finally gluing this piece and checking it for slope, this one for slope, and this one for slope, so that I have a very gradual slope on my vent. Same thing with this shower, where just each piece check for slope, and then continually checking to make sure that our slope hasn't fundamentally changed. I guess the good news is on this trap, the garage floor drain, none of that is glued. So we'll simply move this elbow here, which is a street and regular 22, over here. And then we'll straight pipe on this trap arm into this guy.
Did you guys forget that Alyssa's working on this project too? What have I been doing all day? I don't even know. It's chasing my internet tail for a very long time. Can't upload a video, which is pretty much like mayday, mayday. Internet's just crapping out on us, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out. Been chasing down a place for my parents to stay for the timber frame workshop, and something else, but I'm here to help now.
To facilitate pressure testing, you're going to be using what's called a Fernco cap. They're a rubberized cap with a pipe clamp on them. And I think we actually don't have enough of them because we added a couple vents, or what did we add? A bunch of vents. The guy at the plumbing place said, don't put your face near one of these when the system is pressurized. So let's see, there's a 3, and that's a 4. So it looks like we have enough caps to test. So this joint is going to end up locking in like concrete here. And I'm adding just a tiny bit of pitch at this junction. And if I don't hold it, it will relax in that joint and I'll end up with a downward pitch. Something else I just realized, that you also need to check the down run and make sure that that's correct. So like this probably needs to go about right there. And if I don't double check that now, once that glue dries, it'll be really difficult to get it where it needs to go. That glue's already starting to set up. 6 feet 7 1/4 right there. It's looking pretty good. Awesome possum. So huge progress. Got all of this replumbed with the drop down here. Moved the drop on this floor drain. Just brings that floor drain up about 1 inch. And got the vent line run and verticals. Double check that we have enough testing caps. That's where we're at. We need to make a supply run. We're hoping that all this will be cured and ready for testing when we get back. We're back, huh, Bugaboo? Yeah, we made it back from town. Hey, what are you doing?
Spectre came a day early.
Oh, there he is. There he is.
What are you doing? What are you doing in here?
What's in this bag?
He loves being in here with us.
What's in the bag? What's in the bag, Dad?
Bugaboo. Bugaboo, what are you doing?
So a pretty efficient trip to town, and now we've got a few last parts to get installed, and then we should be ready to give this system a pressure test. We did get an extra test valve and all the fittings to test our main water line also. Hopefully we did a really good job on the plumbing and we don't have any issues or surprises. I think we should probably use this one here for our pressure check. Meanwhile, Bugaboo tears everything we just bought to pieces. Oh, he wants in the box. Here's a box. Here you go. Here, I found this one for you. Okay, bye. Okay, bye. Okay. Meanwhile, Alyssa is going to remeasure where our garage floor drain goes and get the main line there trimmed. We've also got to do some leveling and stuff. Turns out when you bed a small piece of pipe here in the middle and you don't in the ends, it creates bow in that pipe. So we've got to get this garage drain installed, then we got to get this vent installed over to the nearest wall. And then we should be really close to ready for, oh wait, we need to install this backwater valve. So that backwater valve is going to help us to prevent backflow from the main system and from the living areas into our lower basement plumbing. So we've got to get that cut and installed. Bugaboo. Just glued this vent elbow for you. Okay. So when you're ready, this is already glued on, just need to do your thing with it. This is the, I don't even know what this fitting is called. It's a threaded hub, I guess might be what it's technically called. So this is for our testing gauge and will allow us to put air into the system. We only have to test this to 5 psi, so that's not very much in theory. But what makes this system kind of intimidating is the volume of the system. So this will get glued on to this 2-inch. Later on we'll end up cutting this in the wall. It's just a vent. And then we have this ridiculous apparatus, which is a air adapter with a 100 psi gauge on it. barely even has to register on that gauge for pressure. Then we're using a galvanized nipple, which will get us from 1 inch to 3/4. Sorry, galvanized bushing, and then a galvanized nipple, which will get us to our pressure gauge. Kind of just realized a problem with our pressure testing. Our 1/2 inch trap primer lines will not hold pressure. They're actually a hole in the side of the trap. I'll have to look around, like trying to think how we could plug those off.
That needs to be at 12 feet 2 inches.
So this is sloping 1 inch. Remember that. So slab height is 6.5, and this floor is sloping 1 inch. So this needs to be at 5.5, unlike the ones in the back. Okay, so let's double check that. I think we're actually right on 5.5 right now. It's right on 5.5 right now.
Sweet. Should probably get a little turn in there. There we go.
No, you gotta.
Wow. Well, it's leaning the other way.
It's sloping the wrong way.
No, it's just, it needs to go up.
Oh, okay, okay. Just needs to be above the flow plane, so something like that. So that's at 1/4, and where are we at there? 1/4?
Yep.
How are we looking?
5.5.
Perfect. Good. Okay.
Down.
Nope, up.
No. Oh, you're right. Yep.
I don't even know if you can see me, but I see a bad pattern starting to happen, and that is we're working by headlamps. So that means that summer is winding down and the days are getting shorter, which we knew. Not enough hours in a day. We've been up since daybreak, and it's well past twilight, 7:30. So this is about hour 12, hour 13, something like that. But we're gonna keep working. So low on my to-do list, I've got to get the barbed fitting and a ball valve installed on this with a pressure tester. And then we thought we had a mayday situation. I made a mistake and we drilled the holes for our trap primers. We're actually going to hook the 2 drains together, which will close the loop and should allow us to at least pressure test. So Alyssa thinks maybe you can restate your scenario to explain the position of the on-off handle on the water main.
So we want on to be up like this.
Yep.
And then you pull down for off because there's an axe murderer that chopped off your leg over there and you're dragging your bloody stump behind you, like on your hands and knees, like on it to try to turn off the water. You get in here and reach up like,
all dramatic,
you're not
like,
gonna want to like push it up.
Oh, it's so bloody. Oh, turn the water off. Versus, oh, it's so bloody. I have to lift the handle to turn the water off. Yeah. All right, it's time for a initial air check. Let's just put a little air in here and see what happens. See if we forgot to glue something. I can't tell if we're losing all the air or not.
What do you mean?
Look. So I put air in for a long time and that's all the air that's coming out.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Yep.
So there should be a lot of air in there.
I found the leak. Turns out we didn't glue this.
Somebody on glue patrol failed. This is glued. This is glued.
Yep.
Is this glued?
I don't think that's glued
I don't
either.
think that's glued either.
So this whole joint is just unglued. Wow.
Fixing our mistakes. Nice. We put a little pressure in there. It's actually holding pressure right now. But we've got a cap over here in one of these floor drains that's losing a little bit of air. Hopefully that'll take up any slack in the threads. So our optimism ran out quickly, as did our PTFE tape. We usually have about 3 or 4 rolls running around, but between all the plumbing, apparently we've done a fantastic job of burning through it all.
A lot better. That's
Yep.
pretty good. If that doesn't hold.
Oh yeah, it'll seal. I just wasn't too thrilled about having pipe dope down in there, but we can clean it out.
Well, she's holding. So we're done. Oh, this is done.
I don't know if the gauge is accurate or not, but the fact is there's air pressure in there, and we haven't found any leaks yet.
And I've gotten down on my hands and knees with my ear next to pretty much everything, so
Yep.
I think we're gonna call it a night. Might come back here and check in half an hour, see where things are at.
We'll do the long-term test and see if it bleeds off or not. But it's definitely holding there.
Okay, cleaned up everything up here good enough.
Look,
Here's
we
some
haven't
trash
used
away.
any pressure.
Good.
Well, we used 30 pounds, it looked like.
Okay. Are you happy on cleanup?
I think so, yeah. Is there anything sensitive out here?
Nope.
Okay. I don't know if this thing bleeds off air fast. It definitely loses air. I've aired it up several times hoping it would stick and then come back and it's empty.